up? Welcome into week 3 of Bleacher Talk. I'm Claudia Collins alongside Jordan Spurgeon, coming off another crazy awesome week of high school football. I just got to throw it out there. It'll lead right into quick picks. I was at the Highland Basha game, which was a fun game we chose from last week. Coop, we've got Bruce Cooper here with us. And, a couple of us, we were like, it's hard to pick against the Bears. Spurge, you made the right call and praised Highland. But I got to tell you, regardless of, my pick, it was quite the game to be at. Really cool. And you could just tell Highland was out for blood in that game, and they hung in there. So I think that's a good way to lead us into our very first pick of the game, Basha at Saguaro. And I'm actually going to go ahead and make my pick because I had the slight advantage of already getting to see Basha pretty fresh. It's our open division title rematch. So that's about as good as it gets really early on in week 3. Like I said, I have the advantage of having just seen Basha. I have not seen Saguaro yet this season. So they've got to come up quick on my list. I don't think Basha can take 2 losses in a row, and I don't think they will. Saguaro Mountain View was actually a battle from what I could see in the first half of the game, which is honestly a little bit surprising for Saguaro. I think Saguaro has a ton of potential for the season. I think who knows? We could have open division rematch, take 2, take 3 at the end of the year here. But I think Saguaro needs a little bit more time to find their groove. They've got a new head coach, new leadership overall. So I just think for me, it comes down pretty easy. I just don't think Bash is going to take another loss. And I think Saguaro, if this was later on in this season, I might have a different take. I do think it's going to be a close and high scoring game. So I'm going to go Basha 41, Saguaro 35. Bruce.
Yeah, you called it. I mean, a rematch of the Open Division Championship a year ago, in which Basha wins by a touchdown. Let me just say this. I do agree with you from this standpoint. Basha, they don't lose 2 games in a row. Matter of fact, they haven't lost 2 games in a row since Damon Williams' freshman year. So, having said that, I'm going to likewise take the Basha Bears. Though I will say this about Saguaro. I know they've been spoiled recently with the quarterback play of Devin Dampier, but Mason Bray is certainly making some plays. I mean, he's starting to make a name for himself. But while he's still scratching the surface, Damon Williams is it. I mean, he's just a stud. I mean, he's a difference maker. He's a playmaker. And so I know I probably said pretty much the same things last week when they were playing Highland, but I'm not changing. They're not going to lose 2 in a row. I'm going to take the Basha Bears 35, Saguaro 21.
All right, Spurs, this was the difference maker for you last week. Where do you stand?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be another great matchup, a rematch of the Open Division Championship. You guys have already said that. I was impressed by what I saw from Saguaro in the second half against ALA Queen Creek a couple weeks ago. But ALA Queen Creek did put up points. I know they have a great quarterback in Enoch Watson. We'll talk about them in a few minutes as well. But Saguaro's offense is one of the best in the state right now. Zach Hill, we saw what he did last year at ALA Gilbert North as a coordinator. Really, really explosive, really good at getting the most out of his offense. But the defense is what I'm not seeing at the same level that we're used to with the Saguaro Sabercats just yet. I mean, both games they've given up a good amount of points. So I think the difference last week with Highland beating Basha was the defense, especially on the front 7. Highland was just, not that Basha isn't physical, but Highland was just so physical, and their offensive line at the end of the game just seemed to wear down Basha. I'm sure you could agree with that, Claudia, since you were there. It just seemed like that offensive line really did a good job. And so I do think because of the lack of defense on Saguaro compared to what Basha has, I am going to take Basha in a high-scoring game. Give me Basha 41, Saguaro 31.
All right, we all think it's going to be high scoring, but a great lead in there. ALA Queen Creek at ALA Gilbert North. Spurge, you kind of already started to lead us into it, so why don't you go ahead and take your pick?
Yeah, this is a fun one. I mean, American Leadership Academy, both schools have had really great performances. They just continue to move up in conferences every single year. I know now it's going to be every 2 years. That'll be the new thing. But ALA Queen Creek in 6A now, ALA Gilbert North in 5A after winning the 4A title last year. Queen Creek obviously being in the open division the previous 2 years. So, even though they've always been in slightly different conferences, these games have usually been close. I know last year Queen Creek kind of ran away with it 40-19. And based on what I saw from Enoch Watson and that offense against Saguaro, they showed a lot of grit. When I got there, it was, I believe, 28-7 or 21-7. They blocked a field goal right before halftime. And then on offense, they just were making big, explosive plays down the field. Jaden Williams, one of their wide receivers, is a stud. So, ALA Gilbert North still have some great players like Brandon Phelps committed to U of A. New quarterback this year is a junior, but I just think that Ty Detmer has his Patriots playing a little bit better football. Give me ALA Queen Creek 29, ALA Gilbert North 21.
Coop, which ALA are you taking?
Well, look, I definitely agree with Spurge. I mean, hats off to both Ty Detmer at Queen Creek and Randy Reisdorf at Gilbert North, because I mean they have led those ALA respective academies to some just tremendous football play. And I will say this about Gilbert North. I expected a drop off. I mean, there's no Adam DeMonte. I mean, the guy's doing this thing now for the NAU Lumberjacks. And I understand he even got in the game and played against the Wildcats this past Saturday. So hats off to him. He's a great quarterback. But I expected a drop off. Through 2 games, they're averaging nearly 50 points a game. It's like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? But I do agree with Spurge. I just think that Detmer and OC, Max Hall, they just do a tremendous job over there. And not to say that Gilbert North isn't. I just think Queen Creek is just a little bit better. And I'm going to go with them. And I think it'll be something like 41-20. So I don't expect that close of a game, honestly. I just think that Queen Creek is just a little bit better right now.
You guys pretty much said everything that I was going to hit on, which is no surprise there. But I think I want to go to the schedule overall, because ALA Queen Creek has had a pretty difficult schedule. If you take a look at it, kicking off the season against Saguaro and really hanging in there, like we were saying, I think that shows their long-term potential. And then they beat Boulder Creek last week by double the score. I think it is going to be a really fun and close game. I just think that this is like the first test for Gilbert North as far as their schedule goes. It's been a relatively easy schedule. So I think just for that reason alone, and I hate to use it's early in the season for my excuse for every pick, but it's early in the season. And I think just based on pure schedule and competition alone at week 3, I just think that ALA Queen Creek has had it a little tougher and have had an opportunity to prove themselves. I think it's going to be a little closer than you think, Coop. I'm going to go just by a bit. I'm going to go 35-20, but I'm also taking Queen Creek. So this next matchup is really going to be the difference maker if one of us can catch up to Spurge, who's leading the charge right now. Chaparral at Desert Mountain. Coop, I'll let you lead us off.
All right. Well, I just want you guys to know that one of my favorite players in high school football is Dylan Tapley. Wide receiver, defensive back. I mean, this kid is, I just find him a remarkable player. I know he's an ASU commit, but I tell you what, I just think he's just one of those difference makers. So anytime they're out on the field, I'm expecting, that he'll be a difference maker. And so, look, I know it's one of those Scottsdale kind of rivalries going right now, if you will. Conrad Hamilton, has done a terrific job with the with Desert Mountain. And so I'm actually going to go with Desert Mountain here. And I think Chaparral might look like they're starting to find themselves after a tough opening loss to I believe it was Saturday O'Connor. They came back with I think a 42-0 win last week. But I just like everything about Desert Mountain, and Dylan Hip. He's another big weapon there for the Wolves. So give me Desert Mountain 42, Chaparral 28.
Coop, I'm going to go ahead and make my pick because you're kind of leading right into what I was getting to on my notes. I have weapons. Desert Mountain was my team to watch this year. My very first segment of recruiting roundup leading into the season was, okay, you need to pay attention to Desert Mountain and Desert Edge if you want to follow recruits. And that is just because Desert Mountain is absolutely stacked. You talked about Dylan Hip at tight end. Brady McDonough at QB, very talented. They've got dynamic two-way players, Dylan Tapley, Santana Wilson. At media day, Coach Hamilton said this is the best team that he's had under him in the last several years. And I think we all know that, taking a look at who they've got on their roster, let alone nothing to take away from Chaparral. I also think that Chaparral is going to do really well this season. I wouldn't put them very far down on my list of teams to watch. I just think that loss against Sandra Day O'Connor was too significant, and they've got to find their groove as well. Even though they shut out Shadow Ridge, it's just, I go back to that O'Connor loss. I think that was probably the most similar matchup to what we're going to be seeing this weekend. But I just can't, I don't know when I'm going to be picking against Desert Mountain this season. We'll see. So I think I'm going to go same score as the last game, 35. Well, I don't remember what I said now, but 35-21. Was that what I said before? Who knows? All right, Spurge, make your pick.
Yeah, I think not much variety this time. I think you guys touched on it all. Desert Mountain to me has shades of Basha, as far as it's a lot of guys that have been on varsity since they were younger. They've played together. They're all, so much Division I talent, guys playing both ways at receiver and defensive back and safety. And so I just think that, Coach Conrad Hamilton, like he said, it's the best team he's had so far. They're hungry. Last year, they really caught storm, and people thought they would go further in the playoffs and potentially be a 5A champion, and they fell short. And that's their ultimate goal this year. I think, barring an open division appearance, I think they can be the 5A champion this year, and would be if they end up in 5A. And even if they end up in the open, I think they can give most teams a run for their money. There's a lot of talent on this team. So not a knock on Shap. First-year head coach. They've got some talented playmakers. Plaz Johnson, great wide receiver, almost led the state in receiving yards last year. He was one of the top 5 guys, I believe, if not number 1. I know at one point he was. So they've got some playmakers, but give me Desert Mountain. I'm going to say 35-17.
All right. In full agreement this week. I love it, but I also hate it because there's no way for me to catch up. But Coop, always love having you on. Thanks for joining us, and stick around when we come back. I've got another Bleacher Talk segment, sitting down with Miles Lockhart's mom at this past Highland Basha game.
Welcome back to Bleacher Talk. I'm Jordan Spurgeon alongside Claudia Collins. Quick picks was fun as always. We're all in agreement this week, so we'll see how that goes. But I'm in first place, so I guess I can't complain because that'll keep me in first place regardless of the outcome of Friday Night Lights. But Claudia, you've been doing a new segment this year. It's been a lot of fun so far. Round 2, Where'd you go this week?
Well, I was at Highland Basha, and I knew that at some point this season, I was going to want to sit down with Miles Lockhart's mom. I met her at his commitment or pre-commitment interview that we did together, and she is absolutely hilarious. And let me tell you, I hope that I am as popular with my kids' future friends as she is with basically the entire Basha community, because I can't tell you how many people stopped over to say hello. So it was really cool to sit down with her for the first half. So let's take a look at what advice she might also have for those parents that are just getting started with recruitment or high school football, or just want a good laugh. Your son is back in the game after recovering from an injury. What is it like for you as a mom, seeing him go through that injury process, recovery, and then be sitting here week 2, he's playing?
To be honest, I'm super nervous, and I never get nervous before his games, but I just obviously don't want him to get re-injured. But he's so excited. to be out there, and I'm so excited to see him out there again. And obviously this was like his first football game, so I'm a little emotional.
How would you describe, from a mom's perspective, the bond of the senior class?
These kids he's been playing with since freshman year, and I feel like they're my sons too. They've been at my house so much, spending the night, having, snacks, meals, drinks, swimming. So I don't know, I feel like they're my own sons, so I'm out here watching them, and I hope they all succeed.
Okay, that means you know what kinds of snacks you need to stock up on before the boys come over. So what are like the go-to staples that they're like, oh, Stevie's going to have this and this?
Definitely the Swiss rolls, Gushers, and
Very healthy.
Yes, Gushers and fruit snacks are huge. They like the Cliff bars too, like the kid ones, the Z bars. Always have to have Gatorade.
I would have liked to be at your house when I was in high school. We all had that one friend who we'd go to if we felt like we needed to be healthier, and then the other friend whose house had the Gushers and the Easy Mac and all of that.
How are you?
Looks so good.
A lot.
I hope to be this popular when my kids are in high school.
All of you.
At what point did you get him started in football, and when did it turn into this would be his life's passion?
Okay, so he started playing in kindergarten. He played flag. And he actually played at Payne Junior High, which is where I teach now, ironically. So first in kindergarten and first grade, he played flag football. When he was in first grade, he scored 28 touchdowns. So second grade year, he started playing football for Valor, which was in AYF. And he always played up because they didn't have a group young enough for him. So his first season, he broke his wrist. He sacked the quarterback, and the quarterback landed on his wrist, and he broke it.
Do you want this one?
So then I was like, oh, maybe I'm doing too much. But he was fine. He came back. His last injury was literally the only other injury he suffered. So he played for Valor for quite a while. And then he changed to Gilbert Youth Football in junior high. And actually some of his teammates from Gilbert Youth are on this Highland team, so that's kind of cool. I would say not until junior high did I really see he's pretty good at this. And he'll say the same thing, of course I thought he was always good because he's my kid, but when he really kind of turned the corner, I was like, I think he can do this. I guess he's pretty athletic.
Whose genes are those?
Of course they're mine. I ran track and danced and did gymnastics. My husband played football, ran track. So we both ran track, so I would like to think that some of that came from me as well. I did play flag football in college at U of A, so.
I got here, you were telling me this is the most packed you've ever seen this stadium. That's got to probably have something to do with being the current reigning Open Division state champions. Walk me through that game from the parent perspective, because I was on the sidelines, so I didn't even know you then. So what was that like for you?
Well, I have this, we call it women intuition. I call it mama intuition. Okay, Maya! Eat, Miles! Okay, so the only game I was nervous for, and I'm not even lying about this, was the Liberty game. I had this yucky feeling. It was bad weather that day. Yeah, and we lost. So I don't like bad feelings. I was nervous, but knew we were going to win type of thing. It was I knew in the end, especially the end when it was so close and it was down to the defense. But I just had this calm, that calm before the storm. I'm we got this. It's happening. And beating Saguaro, Saguaro's always been the team to beat. So knowing that we not only won state, but that we beat Saguaro it was big.
What piece of advice do you have for the parent that's just getting started in this high school football journey? Maybe it's freshman team, JV. What do you want them to know about the next 4 years?
Okay, well, first of all, it goes fast, and everybody told me that, and I knew it would, but it really does. Get involved. Do something. Volunteer in the concession stand. Be on the spirit. Do something to be involved, because you'll feel like you know more stuff, and your kid will really appreciate it, even if they act like they don't want you there. They do. They want you there.
That would have been me.
Be there. Make friends with people that you don't know. I've made lots of new friends. Don't get their number ironed on to the back of the shirts, because if it changes, then you have a lot of shirts that you can't wear. But all I can say is get involved. I work in the concession stand at all the freshman or JV games, so I can see the other players. I can be there to cheer on the other teams, and I meet other parents, and they need us. They need volunteers. It's always just the same people, but dig in, enjoy it, It's a fun, fast ride, but Friday night
Curly
lights,
on the
there's nothing
cherry.
like it.
Number
Nothing like
33.
it.
Well, you're going to want to stick around for more. Marley and Eliav will be back with another social spotlight segment, and they're always bringing the good stuff from Twitter, Instagram, whatever it might be. So I don't know about you, Spurs, but I'm looking forward to see it. Stick around.
Welcome back to Bleacher Talk and another edition of Social Spotlight. I'm Eliav Gabay. She's Marley Xana Thompson. Marley, it's good to see you. How are you?
It's nice to see you too, Eliav. I am surviving through what it feels like a really long week already, but it's only Monday.
Wow, that's true. That's true. When we're recording this, it is Monday, and hopefully it'll get better by the time everybody else sees this for everybody too, and maybe a little bit cooler. But let's start things off with things you love to see. Chandler alum Mikey Keene led Fresno State to a win over Purdue. Let's hear it. Are you kidding me? 31 for 44, 366 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. That is awesome. And it's our first shout out for college of the season as far as Arizona high school football alums.
Yeah, it's so awesome to see Arizona football alums go and just shake it up somewhere else. They shook it up here and they're going to shake it up over there. Yeah. And even cooler is that Fresno State is coming and they're playing against Arizona State. So we're going to see what he does back here at home, and it will just be good to see him again.
Absolutely. That game is September 16th, and you know we are going to be watching. Now let's do some catch of the week candidates. We'll start out at Castile, where Braden Green had to stretch for this one. What a way to kick us off, Marley. I love that. Now, William Fields, Josh Chandru in this next one. I had to put in slow-mo for you, Marley. Come on. Using the wheels there, huh?
Yeah, I love it. I always say everything looks better in slow-mo. I know I like when I videotape to put things in slow-mo because it just, makes it a little bit more dramatic and accentuates everything, I could never catch a ball like that at all. So all of this is very impressive. The only stretch that I got is when I crack my back, on a chair or something. So
there you go.
It's awesome to see slow motion.
And while we're at this game, here's the celebration of the week too by Cameron Cook, who kicked himself up off the ground. I just, the athleticism is awesome. The wherewithal to just do that in that moment without even thinking is impressive. I've always wanted to do that. It's one of those things, that you've
on your bucket list, right?
Yeah. Like one of these days I can figure that out, but
maybe one day we can go there and he can teach you a few things about
it. What? Maybe, and maybe I'll end up hurting myself, but you know what? I guess we'll just have to find out.
Make a good video.
Now, this next candidate was replied in. So if you do reply to our posts, you might just get on the show. Shout out to Apache Junction's Ben Venezuela with the toe drag on 4th and 5. His team did lose the game, but I'll tell you right now, that is my choice for catch of the week. Marley, what about you?
That's actually my choice as well. I was going to see if we were going to agree on this, but those toe drags, they just get me every single time that you are able to just barely keep it. They're so impressive to me every single time. So not like the other ones are not impressive or anything, but just that toe drag to get his team to where they needed to be is really impressive. And that's my favorite of this week or this past week so far.
Now let's wrap things up with our first poll of the year. I love that. We are going to have more, so make sure you go out and vote on them. Thanks to Bleacher Talks, Claudia Collins, for putting this one up. She put up a pregame poll of who's going to win. Very high octane matchup between the defending champion Basha Bears and the Highland Hawks, who are the 6A champions and trying to make it into the open division. And the people were wrong, Marley. The people were wrong. They picked the Bears, and I'm not saying I wouldn't have, but the Hawks pulled it off. And I'll tell you what, In my opinion, they're going to make the open division this year. They cannot be denied much longer. What do you think?
I think so too. I think they're banging on the door right there. I mean, they've won 2 years in a row where they are now. And I think they've proven themselves time and time again that they deserve to be, you know, among the top there. And then beating Basha with some of those top guys just solidifies it even more. So this season's going to be very interesting, but I think they can make it.
I love it. I love the start to the season. We have a big time Liberty squad looking phenomenal right now. And then an upset like this, it's exactly what we want to see from it. So for Marley Zana Thompson, I'm Eliav Gabay. And for everyone here, this is Social Spotlight. And this has been Bleacher Talk. We'll see you next time.
Well, that'll do it for another week of Bleacher Talk. We've got some big games this week. We already picked Basha at Saguaro. That's going to be a great game. Lots of other ones as well. So, Claudia, I think I'm slowly getting used to it. We were talking a little bit off camera. You know, we're figuring out how to shoot games again and just be around the sidelines. And so it's cool to be back out here. I'm so excited. The weather finally cooling off just a little bit. Just a little bit. At least at night, it's not staying in the 90s now. So we're getting a light break, but it's a lot of fun so far.
I am absolutely loving it. And it's so great to be back in the swing of things, especially with Bleacher Talk. And we'll have more the rest of the season. So we'll see you right here.